The highlight of the recent North America 2016 FanFest was of course Yoshida's opening keynote address and the subsequent announcement and trailer launch of Final Fantasy XIV's next expansion, Stormblood. Many of the macro concepts of this expansion have been things that the community has long since guessed at, but there were plenty of details in both the trailer and the keynote that are definitely worth examining. As long expected, the focus of 4.0's main scenario will be the liberation and annexation of Alamigo, now occupied by the Garlean Empire for 20 years. The area for which we are seeing these incredible vistas is called Rhalga's Reach, and the incredibly defensible geography here has allowed the Alamigan resistance to keep it secure as a bastion even in the heart of Garlean-occupied Girabanya. It follows that the magnificent idol here, cut from the living rock, is in the image of Rhalga himself. At the foot of the statue is a shrine into which is carved the meteoric icon of Rhalga and a number of ornate levin bolts. The statue itself echoes, at least for me, the same form we have seen taken by the primal Ramu, a regal, humanoid man with a flowing, slightly less luscious beard, grasping in hand a staff of lightning. The scope and geography of Rhalga's Reach, while certainly invoking a sense of wonder, actually gives us a pretty sturdy clue as to what the nature and location of this sacred place precisely is. The Encyclopedia Eorzea tells us that at the genesis of Alamigo's founding were a number of refugees fleeing the rising floodwaters of the 6th Umbral Era, spying a burning comet which led them to the highlands of Girabanya in the eastern reach of Ablathia's spine. The trailer pans out to show us that Rhalga's Reach is a fertile, craterous valley in dramatic dissonance to the dry wasteland which surrounds it. Such an oasis might well have been created by a heavy impact piercing an ethereal vein beneath the surface, causing a surge of life into the land immediately around it, and this perfect crater could have been caused by few things other than the descent of a meteorite. It is my belief then that Rhalga's Reach is the resting place of that guiding comet from the 6th Umbral Era, the first haven of the Highlanders that would disseminate across Girabanya to father the tribes that would eventually come together as Alamigo, and the birthplace of the cult of Rhalga. If it's not the comet's landing site, then this is, but I suspect that the latter may have been more recently caused by a demonstration of Garlean firepower. It also seems likely that this place would have been held by the revolutionaries of the 1550s, given that the King of Ruin, Theodoric, having outlawed the worship of Rhalga, would never have suffered such a colossal monument to the god to remain standing. This one has evidently been raided, and may well have been the site of the great massacre of the Fist of Rhalga. Being as it is such a perfectly defensible position, I imagine that here at Rhalga's Reach, the heroes of the revolution would have retreated once the 14th Legion marched into Alamigo and here planted the seeds of the Alamigan resistance, which is what brings us here now, to its base of operations and quite likely our new city hub. History and geography aside, the main feature of the trailer was of course these two martial artists, fighting on the palm of Rhalga, which might remind us of Turn 5 of Binding Coil, a reference which might even prove a foreshadowing. I say martial artists because although one is clearly the Warrior of Light dusting off his monk job crystal after so long in Ishgard, the other, despite using both Snap Punch and Featherfoot, is still waiting for the jury to return. Her solo flourish before opening on the Warrior of Light does seem something of a dance, and her regalia might remind us of dances as we have seen them in previous Final Fantasy titles. As such, I know the community is presently quite split on whether this woman is a dancer or a monk, but my intuition, whatever it's worth, is telling me for now that we have two monks. Far more interesting to me is the identity of this woman. I do not have to tell you that she has a striking resemblance to a certain scion, and I shouldn't have to mention that if it is, it would align with certain theories I've been entertaining in regards to said scion. To speak plainly, I want this to be Ida, but there are a few reasonable confutations to the theory. Firstly, and primarily, that her Circle of Knowing tattoo is not visible. This could be an oversight, looking at you, Nidhogg, It could also be that it's sufficiently hidden by her bulky neckwear, or it could simply be that the developers are gracious enough to allow us to wonder and speculate rather than making it immediately inarguable that this rising star is Eda Hext herself and no other. Apart from confirming, as I had already posited, that Eda is in fact an Alamigo native, the Encyclopedia Eorzea also mentions in passing that she has a sister with whom she fled the Garleans for the Twelveswood. I know that Mr. Happy has been hypothesizing that the Eda with whom we have been traveling has in truth been this sister of hers, a red herring to draw Garlean attention away from this true Eda. But it is just as likely that this girl from the trailer is in fact the sister herself. Despite this, with no other information on the enigmatic sibling of Eda yet available, I hold the theory that in the trailer for Stormblood we are seeing our old scion friend, having cast aside the veil, stepping forward as a lost treasure of Alamigo's past and a hero and hope of its future. It is also worth mentioning here that the encyclopedia reveals Vidargelt of the monk questline to be none other than the hidden Theodred, nephew to King Theodoric, and subsequently I'm excited to see how he and Eda cross paths in the story to come. In the next video, I would like to discuss the other scant hints and teasers that can be gleaned from the North America 2016 FanFest keynote and the shots and concept work which accompanied it, so please look forward to that and be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss it. For now, feel free to leave your own thoughts in the comments below, as I always appreciate all your ideas, but until next time, I'm Ethys, and thanks for watching.